Hello everybody and welcome. We are going to be working on Unit 1 tonight in our databases class, and before we can really do any significant work, and that is actually work with databases, we do need to make sure that we have the right tools installed. So that's where we're going to begin tonight. Last week when we first met, I tasked all of you with making sure that you had access to your Office 365 accounts here at Gateway. So those are the student-based accounts that are available for you to access Microsoft Office, and more importantly, the login that's created by going through that process is the same login that we're going to use to get the software that we need for this class. So let me just do a really quick little guide here on the whole Office 365 thing. I'm actually going to start by going to the Gateway website. And for those of you that might not have completed those steps, so I know that everybody here in the classroom has done it, so it's not to be redundant that you guys don't know this, but I do want to show anybody that might watch the video in the aftermath how they can get access to Office 365. So you see I'm on the Gateway web page here, and I'm just doing a really quick search for Office 365, and it should bring up a link to an internal Gateway page. I'm kind of hoping it loads a little faster. There we go. And I'm just going to click the very first link there. It says Student Software Discounts. Now there's no discount on this. You guys actually get the product completely for free. And they have a set of instructions here where it says simply go to the Office 365 Education website and sign up for a student account. And then they also have this link here, and you can see that on my screen where my mouse is moving, that gives you complete instructions. Now, in the old days, I used to actually download all this stuff and put it on each course shell, and I thought, you know, that's kind of silly. You know, Gateway's already got it. I'll just point you to how to get to it on their site, and then you get that login. If you run into any issues with the login, what you need to do is you need to contact tech support. I can't fix the account for you, but tech support can. And because it's kind of a tiered level of support, our tech support does not directly control the system. So our IT department does not run this setup directly. With the Google apps, we actually have control over them locally, but with the Microsoft apps, there's an in-between layer where Microsoft has their hands in the mix. So the login that you use for Office 365 is not going to be the same login that you use for all your other Gateway services, which for students is student ID and your password. For the Microsoft setup, you're typically going to use your Gateway provided email address as your username, and then whatever password you decide to set up to access it. The one word of caution I'll give you with Office 365 though is if you lose your password, you will not have the instantaneous password reset support that we have with all our other Gateway services. So if you get your password, you can call tech support and say, oh, I forgot my password, help. And they're like, okay, you're good. Here's your new password, or here's where you go to reset it. And it's instantaneous. With Microsoft though, you will get as long as a day delay, and that's a business day, in order to get a password reset because it filters through them. So that's a really good thing to know. So whatever you set your password for, make sure you write it down. What I might suggest, and this isn't really good password practice, is to maybe use the same password you use for all your other Gateway stuff, just to make it convenient, but that's really up to you. So let's say that you have your Gateway Office 365 account active. All you have to do to access Office is just type office.com, believe it or not, and that will bring you to the Microsoft site. The other way that you can access it is by simply logging in to My Gateway. So I'll do this on a faculty level. Your interface will look different, but it should be, you know, kind of similar. You log into your My Gateway, and then you'll get this interface that pops up here. I'm hoping it would be a whole lot faster. There we go. And then you can see the icon right up in the Quick Links area. That's another way to get to it. Okay, but you don't have to go through My Gateway to get there. That's, for me, I think that's a pretty important piece. Knowing that you can just go directly to office.com and log in with your Gateway account, you can do that. One little confusion that some people will have is the fact that they'll have their own personal Office account as well. My strong recommendation is for your academic work, use your school account. Don't intermingle, don't pollute the waters at home with your stuff at school or vice versa. You don't want to be stuck in that scenario. The other reason that you really want to use your gateway account is because of the access to the other software that we're going to get. The Office 365 interface through the browser does give you access to most of their major products right through the browser without installing any software. We talked about this last time. And then if you want to actually install the software, which if you want to do anything powerful with any of these products, you really need to install the products. That's my opinion. There's certain things like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, for example, you cannot do unless you install. And if you want to install, just simply come up to this button they have in the interface and go ahead and do that. It will download the educational version, which is the equivalent of the professional version of Microsoft Office, meaning all the tools that are available are there for you. One tool that we might look at here is Microsoft Access. In fact, I might even go to the process of demonstrating the product later. It really kind of depends on time. There are people that teach courses such as this, and they will use Microsoft Access to run the whole course. And you know what? That's completely possible. And it's not a bad product. I'm not knocking the product. But we are trying to prepare you for a world where you guys are going to be IT professionals, and the professionals usually skip Microsoft Access and go right to SQL Server if you're working in a Microsoft world. It's not that it's a bad product. It's really intended to be a consumer level tool and not a professional's tool. Okay. So enough about that. Well, let's go back to the course shell then real quick, and then you'll navigate over to the resources page. The link is on the left side menu. And inside that folder, right up at the top, I have a link to the Microsoft Azure Cloud. It's just a web link. If you're curious about the link, you can always hover and then get the link information down in this corner if you want to or right-click copy link. But if you click that and follow through, it will take you over. It should take you to the sign-in interface, and I'm not sure if I'm automatically just going to be signed in here. I'm not, notice. But notice that we are in Microsoft Azure, so this is the entry point to their cloud computing platform. Once you have your Office 365 account, you can hit that sign up button and then use the same credentials you use for your educational Office 365 to log in. You can see it's using my gateway email address. My password's already saved in the browser. And then I am logged into the interface. It'll take a moment to load up. Oh well, okay, so they want to do two-factor authentication here, so I guess here I am poised on my cell phone to respond to it. And I have some issues about this. I'm actually going to pull this off the screen. Not that I don't trust you guys, but I don't want the world having my cell phone number. I hope you guys don't mind. So I'm off on the other screen putting in my cell phone number right now, and I'm waiting for a text message. Now, what's really fascinating about this two-factor authentication, and I forget which class we were talking about it in, but people have successfully cracked this too. And what they do is they capture your phone number, and then they spoof it and capture your incoming calls and text messages. So it seems like nothing is sacred or safe anymore. All right, so I have my verification code, which I am now typing in. And I'm verifying the code. And then once I get past the point where my phone number is on the screen, I will move this tab back over to the main screen. All right, so I successfully cleared the hurdle, and I'm just bringing this tab back over here. And at least for me, and I don't know if this is how it's working out for you, I got dropped directly into the education section of this. Did you guys get the same? Excellent. Now, when they first launched this for us, that wasn't the case. And in fact, what they do, and I think I showed this last week, maybe real briefly, is they would drop you here, and if you notice that they have some pretty intensive features. This is a cloud computing platform, and if you're not familiar with what that means that you have the capability of deploying a whole bunch of different pre-built environments with a click of a button. Servers, databases, websites, computer operating systems, whatever. And some of those services are free, but a majority of the high-level ones are not. They're on a trial basis, and you want to wait before you exercise, your thirst to go try those things, because they expire quickly, and then when the trial period is done, it gets really, really expensive. We're talking about like hundreds of dollars a month, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation. Nor build something inside there that you then will lose because you can't afford to pay for it. From a professional standpoint, having a server available for $250 a month that's completely managed is kind of a miracle, and you'd be happy to pay for it. But from a student standpoint, that seems ridiculous. And frankly, the capabilities really aren't necessary for what you guys are doing. Right, but we want to be in that education section, and the real useful thing here is all the software that we have available to us. Now, if you've been in the web program for a while, and you're taking the database class out of sequence, maybe you've already installed Visual Studio, or maybe you've already come in here and installed some of these tools, in which case, great, you have some experience. But for those of you that are new to Azure, which is very likely the case, this may be your first exposure. So for me, what I think is really the important place to go to is to find this spot here. It says download free software, right? And you see a secondary link that says see all software. Just click through to that link, and then that will build up the grand list of all the software that's available for you to download. One little interesting side note is, in the past, when they used to offer all this free Microsoft software to students, they would give us every version of every piece of software like they ever made. So if you wanted Windows, and I think I mentioned this last time, you could even get Windows 3.1 if you wanted. I don't know why, but you could. And the truth is, Microsoft knows that if you really want to find that out on the web somewhere, there's places where you can get it, and they don't even care if it's licensed anymore if you want to really try it. So what they focused on here are more current versions. So it'll only go back a version or 2 or 3, and not much further than that. What we're interested in downloading here is SQL Server. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up to the search bar here. I'm going to type that in. I'm just going to type SQL Server. And then I want you to take a look at the results of what comes back. In fact, this is showing you how dated the stuff in our core shell is, right? Where we have stuff for 2012 and 2013 and 2014, all these old versions. Here on this website, they are only giving us 2019 and 2017. And on top of it all, they're not giving us the dumbed down versions or the budget versions. They're giving us full-on developer version, which is the full-featured, everything you could possibly want in the product version, which is the one that we're going to download. I'm noticing that there's a 2019 and a 2017, and I have some kind of pensive thoughts here. And here I want you to know what I'm thinking out loud. Is the one thing is I know 2017 works well with the AdventureWorks 2016 database. Christian's tested it and he's told me. He's not sure that it works well with 2019. All right, so what do you think I should do? If it was your choice to make, should I go for 2019 or 2017? Yeah, and that's kind of my feeling too. I'm going to go with 2017. I think it's a little bit safer. If I was building a server, I would probably go right to 2019. In fact, I did that with our data analytics server that are sitting right in the next room here, is I did load that version, and we might toy with that a little bit too. So I'm going to go ahead and click through and choose SQL Server 2017 developer version. And then I want you to notice, this is really kind of interesting. Normally with many of these products, when I click through and do this, they'll pop up a little box here that says view license key. And right now I have to say I'm pretty impressed that there seems to be no license key here. And the truth is they license this product a little bit differently than some of their others. If you were downloading, let's say, an upgraded version of Windows like we saw last week, right? And they had the little button, it would appear right here on the screen. little blue button that says View Key. You click it, a key pops up. You want to make record of that key and then store it somewhere. In this case, they're not providing anything here because what we're actually downloading is a pre-unlocked, that's too many prefixes, right? A version that's already been unlocked that self-licenses itself upon install. So what they're doing is they're saying, since you are able to log in here, don't worry about it. We'll take care of the key later. It's all built in, it's automatic. Okay. So our next step is to go ahead and download. So if you guys haven't already been brave and clicked that button, you should go ahead and do it. And because I'm working on a machine here that does, this is a gateway machine, I have not downloaded this product before, so I am doing an actual install of the product. So it looks to me like we're going to have to wait at least a few minutes for the download to complete. Right now the little counter there is saying 7 minutes left. So I think this is a good spot for me to pause the video for a moment. We'll let the download happen and then I'll hit record again once that process is complete. All right, you can see that the download has completed, and I'm going to go ahead and do a show in folder here. And what I'm going to do with this particular file, and this is kind of just my nature, and you guys don't have to do this. You can go ahead and install the product and then delete this file if you need disk space. But I've learned over the years, whenever I download a file such as this, which is an install tool, basically, I keep it, right? That way, if I ever want to reinstall, I don't have to, download it again. And then I tend to keep a repository of things like this. So I have a couple of external drives where I have like a whole bunch of versions of Windows and all these different, products, and I just carry them around and I have it, and that way you don't have to go through the download again. That's up to you if you want to do that or not. Notice that there's a file extension on this that says ISO. You guys know what that stands for? It's not in search of, by the way. Yeah, actually, I'm not even sure what the acronym stands for, but it basically indicates that it's a disk image. So this is basically a file that would be used to create the actual DVD if you were to buy the product. So really, this is the equivalent of putting a DVD into your machine to load it. So to load it, what you're going to have to do, whatever location it's in, you will have to right-click that file and see how it says Mount here? Let me know if you don't have that option. The people that will not have this option will be people that use Windows 7 will not have this option, and Windows 8 or 8.1 will not have this option with the consumer or the home edition of Windows. So if you don't see the option to mount your drive off of a right click, then you have a lower level of Windows or an older version. So once again, just to repeat that process, here's the file, right click, and I'm going to choose mount. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually make the choice to mount it. When you mount a disk inside of Windows, what that's actually doing is it's mounting it as a drive letter. So if you notice really closely where my mouse is right now, it gave it the drive letter of F. So it took a file, and now it's pretending like it's a DVD that's inserted into my drive. If for some reason you have an older version of Windows that does not have the mount command available, then you're going to find yourself needing to burn that image physically onto a disk, or find a third-party tool that allows you to mount it, or a third-party tool that allows you to burn it onto a flash drive. And all of those work. But I'm going to tell you what, this is one reason why we recommend that you have Windows 10 at this point, because all the versions of Windows 10 do this natively. In the old days, 8 and 8.1, you had to have the Pro versions, and even then it was a little buggy. I don't know why they waited so long to add the darn tool to the operating system, but it's kind of an interesting thing to know. So everybody's okay though? Everybody is able to mount this as a drive letter?
Mine did it automatically.
It did it automatically?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be the case.
Okay.
It recognized it as an ISO and said, hey, let's mount this thing.
Okay.
And that's okay. That's absolutely fine. It all depends on how your system is configured, frankly. All right, so let's leave that right there right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screens right now, and I'm going to go back to our course shell, and I'm doing this with intent. We don't need to be on the resources page anymore. In fact, I'm going back to the Unit 1 folder. I'm going to do a few clicks of zoom here so we can look at the instructions that we need to follow. And basically we're going to be, really what we're doing is we're working on an assignment here, folks. So this is, we're earning points, which is good by me. So the whole grand goal here is to install SQL Server and the associated tools that come with it and the AdventureWork database. I am borrowing this instruction set from Christian Herr. I've done some really minor tweaks, and I may end up, in the aftermath of recording this video, I'm just letting you guys in class here know that I might end up updating these instructions to kind of suit my own style. Or if I find issues with them, or if you guys spot any issues, please let me know. And I know a couple people pointed one out already. Now, interestingly, they do have instructions for people to install this on a Mac. I'm going to tell you what, highly not recommended, by the way. It's not really intended to run on a Macintosh platform, so just in case you want to do that on a Macintosh, I might have you reconsider that, frankly. So assuming you're running a PC and you're using a modern Windows operating system, I'm going to go right here and see how it says you can follow the complete installation guide here. So yes, I'm going to do a right click, open a new tab, and bring those up on the screen. All right, so I have to give you full disclaimer here that I have not sat down and walked through these instructions. I'm taking it on faith because I know Christian really well, that Christian is a very capable person and came up with a good set of instructions. So Christian, if you watch this video, we're analyzing your instructions right now. You can see that he updated this about a year ago, right? So I think that's fairly current. So I'm just going to start scrolling down and reading the instructions. So let's take a little quick tour here of the document. So some of this we may have already done. We need the SQL Server and SQL Server Management Studio. All right, well, if you download the full-blown version of SQL Server, which we did, the SQL Server Management Studio will be included by virtue of some options in the install process. So that I know, so we don't have to actually go do a separate download. Where you might have to do the separate download is if you are pulling down the Express version. So if you see from this document right here, Christian was actually pointing all the students to go directly to the Express versions of the product, which then requires that you do have to do the separate download. Now, I'm not going to coerce you guys to install the full product, even though I guess you're here in the classroom, I kind of did. But if you're online and you're watching this video, what you might opt to do is maybe choose the Express versions, but then you have to remember that there's two separate portions to it. That the extra tools you have to download separately, and that's why he provides that separate link to that product. Because we downloaded the developer version, that tool is built in. Okay. The other thing that I see as a problem here is this website address is no longer how we get it. Now we get it from where? The Azure cloud. So that's one thing that we'll be updating as well. Let's move on to the other steps though. All right. Here he's got the ISO file. And notice that if you're working with a product like 7-zip or a high-end unzipping program, that can actually work directly with it, and that's not the way we're doing it, by the way. But ultimately, we're going to get into the disk and we're going to find the setup file. So let's go do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my file management window, and here's the disk, right? The disk image is loaded up, and all I've done is I've clicked on this PC, and it loads up all my drive letters. Because I mounted that ISO file, it comes up as a drive letter, I'm just going to go ahead and double click it in this listing, and then you're going to see from the subsequent screen that appears that right here inside the file list is a program called Setup. So we're going to launch that program, If you have access to it, please go ahead and give it a double click. All right, kind of a standard Windows install process here. Do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? And we are going to say yes, please. We're going to be patient at this point, wait for all the stuff to load up. Yeah, like I said, be patient. I have a pretty quick machine and this is taking quite a while. This is not a small product, folks. It is very robust and will take a little bit of time to load stuff up on the screen. If you get this screen up, which is the standard SQL Server install window, great. For the moment, I'm going to pause the video until everybody gets there. All right, so now everybody's gotten to this point. I'm going to go back to the instructions here in the background and I'm going to scroll down and see what he's got next on deck. All right, so he's saying click installation, new SQL Server standalone installation, or add features to an existing. So those are kind of intuitive choices. So let's go ahead and make those selections in the product. So right now, if you see like the way my screen's popping up when I get all these like little windows up here, you guys know how I do that? Yeah, hold down your Alt key and press Tab at the same time. And it allows you to toggle between all your open windows. And I use that a lot, and you know, actually every once in a while I kind of forget that I didn't explain it to the people watching, and they go, how are you doing that? What magic software? And it's like, no, it's built into Windows. Hold down your Alt key, press the Tab, and it allows you to jump around. It's just an easy way to switch windows without going to the taskbar to do it. It's a really helpful little tip. All right, so we want to find the installation area in the left sidebar, so I'm clicking on installation. So you see where my mouse is here on the left sidebar? Click install. And then the very top option, it says new SQL Server standalone installation or add features to an existing. So I gave that a click and now it is loading up the install tool. Meanwhile, I'm going to see if I can kind of side by side myself here in the install so I can look at the instructions while I'm doing it. And hopefully that works out for everybody. I might have to unzoom a notch or two. That's pretty good right there, right? See the whole thing? All right. With the screen that popped up, now see I have a secondary icon here, so this is the key. Now this is really cool. Now normally when you have this product, you have to drop the license key in here on the screen, and you can see what they've done here, and it says specify a free edition. So if you're a developer, you get it for free. Wow, cool. But they also have an evaluation or developer. We stick with whatever was preset because that's where we got it from. We got it from Azure, and we knew we were getting the developer edition, and we know we don't have to put in a product key, so it's free. Now, why on earth would Microsoft give this stuff away for free?
So you use it the rest of your life.
You got it. So you use it the rest of your life. And Microsoft's finally catching on to this game, right? You know, where they're giving away their stuff for free. It used to be you have to pay for Visual Studio, right? And they had the Express versions for free, but not the real product for free. Now they got smart and they give away the real product for free too, because they figure once they got you hooked, you're not going to want to switch tools. Okay, but you know, you probably will anyhow. So my advice is try every tool out there if you possibly can, and then choose what you think is best for you, right? All right, let's click the next key to move on to the next screen. You will have to accept the license terms. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now some of these screens are going to be very intuitive, and some of them are going to be, you know, frankly, a little overwhelming when you look at them. And that's why I'm here to help you with this. So you can see right now as the screen is like rifling through that it is matching what we're seeing in Christian's instruction, that view. And I want you to notice what it's doing. So it's like doing some stuff, and it's checking to see if everything is okay. All right. Now I did get one flag. So I got 3 green check marks. Okay, that must be good, right? So it says status passed, and then for the firewall it says warning. Okay. The warnings aren't great, right? But, you know, I can drive down the freeway and have the officer pull me over and give me a warning. That's better than a ticket, right? So this is kind of in the same category. So it's nothing to freak out about, but it does have a message here. And my advice is that we read the message. Let's read the message. I'm going to click the warning, and it's going to say, rule, Windows Firewall generated a warning. Windows Firewall is enabled. Make sure the appropriate ports are open to enable remote access. Okay, so what they're telling you is, once you load up the database on your machine, and your machine is up and running on a network, if you open up the ports in your firewall, you can actually remote connect to the database. Okay, but you have to set that. It's not done automatically. They wouldn't open up the ports automatically because then you have a spot where you're vulnerable, right? So I'm just going to say, thank you, Microsoft. I'll click OK now and carry on. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm curious to see what screenshot he puts up here next, you know, so it looks like about the same thing, right? And he probably says, yeah, any warning is not mission critical. Thank you, Christian. Anything that says failed or has like the red little X or exclamation point, I think, that they put in there, then you got some issues. And then what you'll have to do if that happens to you, and I'm anticipating it's not going to be the case for anybody, but then you have to read, you have to click the link, read what it says, and do whatever it says to fix it in order to install the product. Is anybody in that situation? Great, fantastic. All right. Moving on to the next screen. All right, clicking next, and we should get the same screen that Christian's got here. But you know, here's the thing that happens as well, is sometimes it changes from version to version. This looks a little different, right? It's not the same next screen. Is this a reason to panic? Absolutely, we should all panic and run home and cry. I'm kidding, of course. All right, so I don't have this screen yet. However, let's take an intelligent look at what's being offered to us in comparison to what we're seeing on the screen here. All right, so we want to install the database, and we need to look for all the stuff that we want to drop in here. I'm going to just very quickly scroll through and look at all the different things that are listed here. And, all right, so I'm going to say Database Engine Services. And then I'm just going to kind of read. And the reason I'm doing this is not because you guys can't figure this out, right? It says, the configuration and operation of each instance features SQL Server instances isolated from other SQL Server instances. SQL Server instances can operate side by side on the same computer. So they're saying you can run more than one version of SQL Server on the same machine at the same time, no problem. Interesting. That's wonderful. But that doesn't point out what particular tool we had just clicked on. You see the difference there? So as you click through each one of these particular tools, it will give you a complete breakdown as to what is available for that tool and what that tool actually is. And then as you select tools, I want you to notice here that you're going to get things that pop up in these two boxes. Normally I wouldn't like belittle this so much, but I think it's a really kind of interesting to learn this stuff as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and just click this first choice. And notice it says prerequisites for selected features. Okay, so some things are already installed, right? You see I have some tools installed, but you guys might need to install those. I don't know. The other thing that happens is for every tool that I add, you're going to notice that it's going to tell you how much disk space it's going to chew up. Now, I have some concerns about installing too much stuff because I'm on a laptop. So this is how you can kind of take your full-blown version and control it and really make it what you want instead of just using the Express version, which wouldn't even give you the options. So, do I need to replicate my server? No. Do I need to do machine learning right now? No. So if I was doing machine learning, I could actually add that feature, choose my development language, and pull it in. Full text semantic extractions for search. I think that that's a good one to add. Data quality services. Yeah, I'm not worried about that one. Polybase. If we were working with Hadoop or like a pooled set of databases, we would pull that in too. Do we want an analysis service? That one I will say yes to. Other shared features here, we already kind of left alone the machine learning stuff for right now. I'm going to click on Client Tools Connectivity. Includes components for communications between clients and servers. I think that's a good one to have just in case. As far as integration services, and this is where, you know, maybe Christian's got screens. All right, so now you see, let's see what choices he made. Aha. All right, so he does have it, right? So he says database engine services, and it looks like that's it. That's all he's putting in there. All right, I added a couple additional ones. You guys want to follow along with me, it's fine, but please be aware. All right, so that's the only one that he wants us to do. The other thing that he wants us to do is make sure that we take a look at where we're storing it. So this is going to go in Program Files and then SQL Server. Then we'll go ahead and click Next. You guys with me? Okay, we're letting it do its work. I'm scrolling down in the instructions. So apparently before when I scrolled down, I scrolled past it, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think I did that. Now, what's really fascinating about this product, frankly, is that this installation tool that they have here has been around for like 25 years. It hasn't really changed much in terms of the appearance or the behavior of it, which I always find interesting. All right. We're going to go ahead and accept the default instance of SQL Server. And what that means is when you go ahead and install this, it will install it with a certain name. And it's really helpful to know what that name is. So the default instance name for any install of SQL Server is MS SQL Server, all caps. No spaces, no dashes, or anything like that. So we're going to stick with that and kind of basically leave that alone. Kind of interesting to note is this actual SQL Server directory, when it gets into a subfolder, you see this number right here, the 14? That's actually the true version number of this product. So this is version 14 of SQL Server. I don't care what they call it externally, 2017 is what they're calling it. So I assume if we did 2019, this would be a 15. And that's one of the ways they allow it to kind of coexist. We're going to go ahead and click Next. It's going to do a little bit of work there. It takes a little bit of time. You notice how this is not a small product. It takes a little bit of effort to get it in there. Okay, so now we're on to our next screen here, and yeah, I don't know if did you guys run into this screen here that Christine is showing? I didn't get that problem either. Okay, and that could be only because maybe he had a pre-existing installation. That's my thinking.
I got that, so how do I get rid of that?
Well, let's see if we can figure it out, Jill. So I did have one person in the room that ended up getting this error screen, and what happened is apparently they had a previously existing installation of SQL Server. So in that case, you choose the second option here and then give it a unique name. You could just add a number after it or put your name on it, but you have to record which version that is. And then once you get past that error screen, you can proceed with the rest of the install. Right. So, and this is exactly what Christian's saying in his document. He says, since he already has it, it won't let me use it, so he's giving you the workaround here on the next page if you're following along with that. So he's just giving it a different name, and what he chose to do last time was just put the version number at the end, so that might be a fix for you. But it can really be any snippet of text you prefer. And I'm finding with this PDF that I'm scrolling with in my browser here, when I scroll to the next screen, it kind of hiccups a little bit and then bounces back, which explains why I missed that screen. So it's interesting. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is configure the server. So you can see we're pretty far through the process. You know, if you look on this little left sidebar here, we're at this step right now. We have a few more to go. Now, this is where it gets a little bit weird, because this is a type of product that really is designed to run on a server, right? And when you run a product like this on the server, usually you'll set up a server so it only runs this product. So you don't want a server to be doing a lot of different tasks. You usually set it up as a database server only, and then leave it alone, but don't put other things on it, right? Because you want it to be the best database server it can be. However, they realize that with students, that it is possible that you might want to selectively run this product as opposed to always turn it on. And what I want you really to look at is this list that's come up here. It indicates really what it takes for the product listed to actually start up in your environment. So by default, the database engine will automatically start when your operating system starts. I'm going to tell you what, for the most part, I think that's an okay setting. Okay? And so my encouragement would be this: leave it alone. If you know that you're using your machine for other really heavy-duty computing tasks, gaming, for example. I say that to all the gamers, and you want to like reserve some RAM and CPU power. You might opt to actually change this. So I'm going to actually click on this option here, and you see that if you disable it, obviously the product's not even going to run, right? I don't know what the point of that is, but if you switch it to manual, then you will have to go in each time and manually start the service every time you want to use the database. What I suggest is this: for this class, it's just from now through a few months from now, one semester. Let it be automatic, and then when the semester's done, you can go in there and turn it off or uninstall it or do whatever you want. But this way, you're always ready to work when you boot up. So I'm going to leave it as automatic. The analysis services are also set to automatic. It says the server browser is disabled because we're not really worried about connecting to other servers. But we might at some point, if you have this option, we might remote connect to our server in the other room. So what I might say is let's set this to manual and leave the others as they are. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Are you understanding why I'm making the selections I'm making? Okay. And then you understand that I have a couple more things appear on my screen here than Christian has in his instructions because I added a couple more tools than he did. And that's not a bad thing. It's just different. Okay, I'm going to scroll to his next page, and then I'm going to go ahead and click next on my screen. Now, the one thing that's interesting about that screen as I look back here, did you guys notice that there was a password field here too? If you wanted, you could actually set separate passwords for all the database features. And if I was actually setting up a real server, I would make sure that I did that. Every service would have a different password just for security. Right now, without setting a password, it's just using whatever your default Windows password is for your account to run the database. And as a student, that's okay. But in a production environment, that means if they get onto the system with your password, the whole database is theirs. There goes your application, there goes your company, there goes your data, right? by setting different passwords for each one of the features, it creates that many more hurdles to jump in order to hack it. So we're not worried about that at this point because we're learning. But in a production environment, every service would have a different password and a complicated one on top of it. It would never be the same as the operating system. All right. Following along, right along that same topic, now we go into the authentication modes. And you'll notice that Christian is pointing out in his instructions that we stick with the Windows authentication mode. So your username for your operating system is the super administrator password for the database. It gives you root level access to the database, complete create and destroy capabilities. All right? The thing you do need to do though, and you can see it in his instructions, is in order to allow the current user to do that, you have to actually click this button and say add current user. Now I swear I clicked it. Okay, it took a second. So what it did is it went into my system, pulled up from Windows my user account, and now my user account is authenticated to do that. There are some subsequent tabs up here. I don't know if you guys see those up here. That initially we're not going to mess with. The real important one is the one that we just clicked. Some people, when they do these setups, and you know what, I've done it a number of different times and tried many different ways, they'll end up choosing the second option here for authentication, which allows for your Windows authentication and allows for the database also to hold its own passwords. If I was putting this on a server, I would choose that option. And then I would set a password specific to the super administrator on the account. And here's a little piece of lingo or terminology. Whenever we say the SA account, that means the super administrator account for the database. That's what they are referring to. All right? You guys all good? All right, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Clicking next. All right, now we're down to the analysis services. Most of the next screens, and I don't know if like okay. All right, so he's got his own default thing. Analysis services configuration. I'm leaving this alone. I'm not going to change any of these settings for that. He doesn't even address this. Why? Because he didn't select that option. Okay, so I'm leaving mine in the default mode. However, I will add the current user as an administrator, if you followed my example. Clicking next. And then, I don't know if you caught that, like a really quick flash on the screen, it does this like background check to make sure everything's okay. If everything was not okay, we would have an error screen right now saying, hey, you got some issues here, you better fix it. Right? Otherwise we wouldn't be able to proceed. But now we see we're finally ready to install. We weren't installing yet. Did you guys even catch that? We're just setting up the options. Oh my God, I'm old and gray and I haven't even hit install yet. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and click install, and this will actually run the installation process in the background. This is not a small product. Several gigs of information need to be unzipped, configured, put in the right places. The database needs to be built. Software is going to be installed. So we're going to let that do its thing. And this is going to, I'm not sure how long this is going to take. My past experiences have showed me that this process, depending on your configuration, the amount of RAM and your processing power, can take a really long time. Okay, what's a really long time? It could take an hour. I'm just, fair warning. So I'm not going to sit here and watch this screen, obviously. I'm going to let this run in the background. We're going to take a 5-minute break here in class, and then we're going to come back and get into lecture materials, unless this is done by then. Now, some of the newer processes are pretty quick because I have some of the underlying libraries for the Microsoft runtimes are already installed. My C++ libraries are there. A couple of other tools I noticed on the early end were already installed. As I was selecting features, it might go a little bit faster. Yours, it'll vary. Spec-wise, my machine's a i7, all SSD, 16 gigs of RAM. It is a few years old, so I would guess that your machine's probably about the same speed if you have something that's relatively modern. All right, 5-minute break, folks. All right, didn't take very long at all. We just actually took like a quick 5-minute break here in class. By the time I got back, it said successfully installed, and you can see all the products here all have the green check mark, and more importantly, it says install successful, which is exactly what we want. And if that's the case, you can go ahead and close this dialog and get rid of that particular piece. Now, before I proceed to the next steps in the instruction document here, you can see that we are looking at a separate set of installs here for SQL Server Management Studio. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be valid for our install. My experiences in the past have been if I did the full server install, this tool came with it. So before I go ahead and click through to this option, I'm actually going to check my start menu here. I'm just going to go into the start menu, and I'm just going to scroll down. Now, this should probably be under M, not, your anticipation would be under SQL Server under S, but it's actually under M. So you see Microsoft SQL Server 2017. I'm clicking the drop down, and actually it seems to be missing the Management Studio. So you know what? I guess we will have to take that step, but I'm glad that I double checked. So this might be something that's changed in the install process over time. All right, so now that we've got the product successfully installed, now we're going to go back to our Installation Center dialog, this screen here. We're going to click on the thing that Christian is pointing out, which is Install SQL Server Management Tool. So that's this option right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that option. And of course, what is it doing? It's taking us to a download page, right? So let's just go ahead and get that tool. And then it does have an acronym. So whenever you see this acronym anywhere in our course shell or in the book or anything like that, SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, I know it's a mouthful, but basically this is our database front-end tool. So it's a tool that we use to manage our database. And you'll see that it is an absolutely free product, and we are just going to go ahead and click this very first download right here. So this link here in the tool took me to this web page, and then I'm just going to click download link, and you can see it dropped down to the bottom of my toolbar. It's slightly off the edge of my screen, so I'm adjusting my screen height here so you can see it. It looks like we get another few minutes of download going here, although it's dropping really fast. 4 or 5 minutes. All right, so let's let that finish, and then we'll come back. Pausing the video. All right, the file is done downloading. It took a little while, longer than I would have liked, honestly, but not much of a choice here. I'm going to go ahead and click this executable. It's just an install file to install the SQL Server Management Studio. And I did click it, and I'm being patient right now while I'm waiting for the installer to launch. I did get a nag screen asking if it was okay to install it, and then it moved the installer over to screen number 2, of course. And I'm going to be jumping back over to Christian's instructions here. I'm trying to keep this like side-by-side thing going. I think that's pretty helpful, hopefully, for you. So we did that process. We chose the download. All right. And then we're just going to go ahead and do the install. There's not too many fancy instructions for this because it's just a piece of software. So just click install. Hopefully this won't take long at all. We can all have a race and see whose machine is faster. So while that's doing its job, once again, I'm going to pause the video here. Steps. All right, folks, so mine finally did finish, and before I come back and complete the steps that you see on the screen here, I do need to do a restart. So if you're in the same boat, and chances are very likely that you are, please do the restart and then come back and watch the second video to help complete the process. All right, so this video ends here.